We're releasing Australia's Annual Overdose Report in the lead up to International Overdose Awareness Day on August the 31st, which is a time to wake up to the drug problem that we have in Australia, also internationally, to face up to the overdose crisis that we have in Australia and to do more about it. But it's also about acknowledging the grief felt by families who've lost someone to overdose without the stigma that is often applied to people with drug problems or the families of people with drug problems. We really need to end the stigma in relation to drugs because it's killing people too. Continuing trend since the turn of the century, which is more people in regional and rural areas dying from overdose per head of population than what they are in the cities. So this idea that this is just a city problem, it's totally wrong. It's actually happening per head of population more in the country than what it is in the city. Some of the big increases are in relation to ice, methamphetamine, other stimulant drugs, sedatives including temazepam and Valium are implicated, and of course alcohol. And so what we're seeing is the combination of drugs is now a key driver of overdose deaths, and we're talking about often more than 4 different types of drugs. Each overdose death is somebody's son, somebody's daughter, their family members, their community members, and that can have a really huge ripple effect. In country towns it can really affect the whole town, but in large extended families or people that are isolated, these are unnecessary deaths, they're preventable deaths, their effects are really far-reaching, and we know how we can prevent them, we just need to do more of it. People in regional New South Wales are now twice as likely as they were 10 years ago to die from an overdose. They've really reversed in relation to Sydney. So once upon a time, Sydney was much more implicated in the overdose toll, and we're seeing a very big increase in regional New South Wales. The overdose report shows that there's been a very significant increase in heroin-related deaths for people from regional and rural Victoria. We need to do more to understand what's happening, but we already know a lot of the things that we can do to prevent these overdoses. We just need to get on and do them. The time for denial in relation to overdose is well over. We're in an overdose crisis in Australia, including in Victoria and including in regional and rural Victoria. We've seen a very diverse picture of overdose in Queensland. Pharmaceutical drug-related overdoses, including painkillers, have increased substantially, but also stimulants like ice, illegal drugs, are also a very big contributor to the overdose deaths that we're seeing in Queensland. We're not seeing a difference of any significance between people that are poor or rich. Overdose is spread right across the wealth continuum. The overdose report shows, unfortunately, that people in Western Australia are more likely to die of an overdose than people from any other state in Australia. And the problem is not just confined to Perth, it's also touching all areas really of Western Australia. We're seeing a very big problem with overdose across the country, but Western Australia is particularly affected. The drugs involved include pharmaceutical drugs, painkillers, opioids, but also anxiety drugs, the benzodiazepine class, those sedative drugs, typically in combination, but we're also seeing illegal drugs driving overdose deaths, such as stimulants, including ice. Australia's Annual Overdose Report shows that Tasmania is very much part of the overdose crisis in Australia. We've seen a very significant increase in stimulant ice-related overdoses. So this is a problem that's touching Tasmanians, and it's touching them from all walks of life, rich and poor, country and city. Australia's Annual Overdose Report is showing overdoses are up around Australia, but also, unfortunately, very much up in South Australia.